Hello guys, thank you for joining us on Un-Trainable. Knuckles and I have very much enjoyed bringing you this content over the past couple of months, and what we'd love even more is to watch the show grow. We're going to start bringing on guests quite soon, and the bigger the show gets, the more cool people we'll be able to reach out to make some content for you guys. If you have been enjoying it and you want to help us out in that, the absolute best thing that you can do for us is to take a screenshot of the episode, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube, and post it to your story on your socials. Thanks in advance. Welcome to another episode of Un-Trainable, the podcast. Me and Dr. Knuckles are not going to mess around today. We're going to get straight into it. No intros. Knuckles, me and you have got quite a lot in common, haven't we? And we talk a lot. We talk a lot about what makes a good coach, because we both feel, I think, that makes us better coaches. We also talk a huge amount about what makes a bad coach. We often wind each other up a bit and get very, very angry at some of the fitness information we see online. Today, Knuckles got angry. So we're going to talk about what made him angry. It's going to be a little bit of a therapy session. And we're going to talk about whether or not a coach or PT's appearance should have some kind of bearing on whether or not they are, I suppose, good at their job or not. And whether or not, I suppose, if you're in the market for a coach or a PT, you should hire them.
Yeah, it's quite a touchy topic, but I think it's been one that I've been wanting to do for a while. It's been a post I've been wanting to make on social media for a while now, but unfortunately with your limitation in word count, and we all know I like to write long posts, so the limitation in the word count and even the length of the videos and potential censorship, if I do get angry, just limits what I can do on Instagram. So I figured it's be a good chat for us to have on the podcast.
God, what do you want to say about these people?
Just how stupid the idea is.
Yeah, I think the industry is quite split. Obviously, what Knuckles has seen this morning is a post from a coach saying you should be in good shape, basically, and I am in good shape, and therefore I am good. Yeah,
And it's
and I
usually,
think the industry is a little bit split,
yeah, and it's usually the ones
isn't it?
who are in shape who say, well, you need to
Well,
be in good shape.
I was about to say, and it's not. I don't think we should limit this to shape
No,
either.
no.
Like, it's the fucking good looking ones. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. Like, it's like the really handsome slash beautiful coaches who say, yeah, you need to look good
Yeah.
to be in this role, and then it's the really butt ugly ones who go, no, no, no. By which I'm implying Knuckles.
They're butt ugly, or I'm butt ugly.
God damn it! You need to do something.
But the thing is, I fall at least you only fall into one of the brackets, because the other one which I hate is when, with strength training, strength and conditioning specifically, this idea that you need to be strong to help someone get strong. So I don't even fall under that strong category either. So I don't fall under the good looking or the big numbers. So I really have no business
Yeah,
being in this industry or being a coach in this industry.
yeah, yeah. Time to become a mortgage advisor.
You know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your take? Why don't you give us a little summary on a coach's appearance, and I think we can sense the way you're leaning.
I mean, there's two sides to it. There's two ways to approach it. For example, before either of us became coaches, and this is a question I want to pose to you, is if I walked into a gym and I was looking for a coach, or you walked in the gym and you were looking for a coach, and then there are a few PTs in the gym and you had to kind of choose whom to go up to and talk to and potentially sign up, what is the likelihood that you would go up to the one who is in kind of better shape compared to everyone else? Because the idea is that, well, he or she is in good shape, so they must obviously know what they're doing and they can help me get into good shape. So is that how you would approach it as well? That's what that would have been my approach when I was starting off.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. Like, if I was for some reason of the opinion that I had to walk up to just one person, and that would be my kind of commitment, which I think it is. Like, having worked on busier gym floors, I don't anymore. that is the case. I've literally had people walk up to me and say, "Look, I'm working with that PT over there, and it turns out I don't like it. I don't like them, and I don't think they're very good. But I feel stuck. Like, can I come work with you?" And like, it's such a strange situation. But what it boils down to is the fact that they felt that they had to make a decision before they spoke to someone on which person they were going to talk to, and they did. They went for the taller guy. It was a mistake. Not that I'm not tall, I'm enormous, viewers. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to pick just one. That's my point. You can talk to multiple. It's okay to do that, and you should. And that's exactly what I would do if I was going to hire an in-person coach, which again I probably would never do. But yeah, you can go up to one and have a chat and have a sit down and see, gauge what you felt about them, and then go talk to a different one and say, look, I'll let you know, buddy. And I think that's, whilst probably slightly frustrating for the coach you're talking to, in terms of, I don't know, oh, here comes some cash flow, or wait, it's slipping through my fingers, they might go with someone else. That's business, I'm afraid. And now, as someone who does hire coaches, you can do your due diligence in the background without talking to anyone. You can get a really good idea. Like, I'd normally go to someone who has some kind of a presence online, because then their knowledge is being put out there. And obviously, I know a significant amount about strength and fitness, so I know if they're bullshitting or if they're talking sense and putting out really good information. In which case, that's what I look for.
Yeah,
If that
so
makes sense.
so when I asked that question, if you had said yes, I would do exactly what you would do, which is like assume that okay, if someone's in better shape, they must know what they're doing. Or if they're stronger, they must know what they're doing. That would have been my next part is in this day and age, you can do your due diligence before you pick a coach. And if you don't, no offense, but I just think it potentially is lazy and shows a lack of commitment towards your own goals. Because when you're picking a medical practitioner, you do your due diligence before you choose a doctor to go to. And you do this probably for every other profession. If you're trying to get a house designed, you look for a good architect. You don't just go to an architect who lives in a nice house. You look at the work they've done. If you're picking a surgeon, you're not picking a surgeon who's had many surgeries or a surgeon based on his heart health. You're picking a surgeon who has done a lot of surgeries and has done successful surgeries. So same thought process should apply to picking a coach.
I'm not sure on the medical process over there, but I don't think we get to pick surgeons over here. I think we just sort of ask politely to come in and lie down, and then they chop whatever needs chopping off. But I follow your thought process. Yeah, there should be some due diligence in the background, and if you don't do that, whether it's out of ignorance or just because you feel like appearance is the most important factor, then it's just potentially a waste of money, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like, this is not like investing in your health and fitness. It doesn't tend to be that cheap of an investment, and yeah, you don't want to waste that money. You want to choose someone decent, competent. Ugly people can be good at their job too.
I was just going to say, so my clients usually, when I ask them how they found me, it's either someone's referred them or they found my social media, they followed me for a while and they then signed up. Because I'm neither good looking nor strong, so they've had to do their due diligence before signing up. But
I mean, define strong. I think this is harsh. Like, you're significantly stronger than the average person.
yeah, but I think within the coaching field, I don't think it would be categorized as strong within S&C and stuff. But like, I'm not too fussed. Like, I really don't care about the numbers being lifted. Um, I'd love to be able to lift heavier and whatnot, but it's just not a priority for me. What I do is coach, so I'd rather spend time improving my coaching practice than trying to be an absolute meathead. I was going to say there's a paper that came out, I think it was in 2022, 2021 or 2022. I remember actually it might have been, yeah, 2021, because I was staying with you for a couple of days when I was between, I had 3 days before I contract at my new apartment started, so I was staying with you. And there was this paper that came out about people's perceptions of coaches based on their appearance and things like that. And like we discussed, people always had this perception that someone who's in better shape is more knowledgeable than someone who's out of shape. Which, if that's people's perceptions, that's people's perceptions. But what really ticked me off about that paper was when it came to making recommendations or practical applications based on their findings. Their recommendation was that coaches who are slightly on the heavier side should look to sign up people on the heavier side because then they're more relatable. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's probably good business advice, is it not?
I think it's, I mean, you're telling a coach to prioritize who he works with based on the kind of shape he's in. So now
Yeah.
a young coach reading that is thinking his appearance is going to make or break his coaching practice. If I want to work in pro sport, but I'm on the heavier side, I've never really played sport, but I want to work as an S&C in pro sport, does this paper is almost making a suggestion that it's probably not for you. Look at other avenues. Go into weight loss.
Yeah. Is it not just realism though? I know kind of which side of the fence that we're on, and I'll probably play a bit of devil's advocate in a
Yeah.
minute because I don't think I'm as far over the fence as you are on this one. But we often, like, our opinions often sort of fly in the face of the rest of the industry or the rest of the opinions on the internet, and I think most people do care about the opinions, the appearance of their coach, and I think maybe someone who is looking for weight loss, who is overweight, would feel more comfortable training with a coach who is also going through the same sort of process, I suppose. So is it not just like, although you don't like the advice, it's kind of accurate?
But yes, which is what I was saying. So like, I'm not questioning the fact that those are the perceptions of people, but I'm questioning
Yeah.
whether are you now saying that the person who is going through the same process, you advising them not to work with someone else, that they can potentially sign up someone else who's overweight or on the heavier side more easily, as opposed to telling them better your practice, get better at what you do, build your reputation, build your brand, and work with whoever you want to work. Because even if the client finds you more relatable, is that going to make you a better coach?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
It might make you more money.
For example, I'll give you an example. This is it's a bit of a harsh example, but I'll give it to you anyway. A psychologist or a therapist, okay, they've got a client come in who obviously needs work or needs to be worked with, who has suffered, let's say, abuse when they were younger from whoever. So would they be would a psychologist or the therapist who's best suited for them be someone who knows their craft and is well educated and knowledgeable about dealing with these things? Or is it someone who's had to, or someone who's experienced this, the one who's better suited? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense, but it's a little bit black and white, right? Why can't we have both of those things? Here's another one.
Yeah, go on.
You are a good and experienced coach who researches all facets of strength conditioning and health. Also, you've had tremendous trouble with your knees, and you've had numerous surgeries and therefore gone through numerous periods of rehabilitation of those knees. Someone came to you, looking for strength, fitness, health, whatever, performance, but also had to rehab from a knee surgery or a knee injury. Who would be better placed to work with them? Would it be you or your equivalent who had never gone through those things?
So I don't know if you planned on this example, if it's just something you've pulled out of thin air, but
Like, I pulled it out of my ass.
because I have actually had quite a few consults come in based on that, based on the fact that two ACL surgeries, a couple of tendinopathies and things like that. And the first thing I do is tell them I'm not equipped to handle it, because I'm not.
Okay.
I handled my own rehab. So I'll give you an example. So one of my clients, he's a doctor, and there's a rheumatology conference that's happening in a couple of weeks, and he'd asked if I could come in and talk about tendon pathologies. And I said no. I said everything I know about tendon pathologies, tendinopathy, and things like that, whether it's ACL rehab, whatever, is research I did to handle my own rehab. That doesn't make me qualified to handle someone else's rehab. I am not a physiotherapist. I don't have the clinical knowledge. There are so many complications that arise, especially in the early stages of rehabilitation, which I wouldn't know how to handle. I wouldn't know how to even identify these complications until they're probably too drastic in nature. So I know what I can and I can't do, and I'll very happily throw my hands up in the air and tell someone, listen, early stages, work with your physiotherapist and keep me in the loop. Once the physio clears you to return to something more intense, come to me. Because if I ever take on anyone going through the rehab process, rather than approaching it from an objective perspective or objective point of view, I will bring it back to my own personal experiences, and they are not me and I am not them. And it's the same thing which when I talk when you see bits about mental health and people who battle through mental health and come out like better on the other side of it, then starting to give people advice based on this is what I did. That's not how it works. That was your personal experience, but you don't have the underpinning knowledge to now go out there and help someone else based on your own individual anecdotal experience.
So that's a no then.
This is why I couldn't make this a post.
Yeah, jeez Louise. It's going to have to be 2 episodes. Um, so you still wouldn't say you'd be better suited? I didn't, I don't mean picking them up for early stage rehab, but, you're way past the rehab stage now, but I assume you still have to work around certain things.
Yeah.
Don't you think that having had that experience and working your own training around certain issues might place you slightly better than someone else to work around some knee issues?
Not based around the fact that I had to go through rehab, but based on the fact that um, I did a lot more research and reading and gained a
Yeah.
lot more knowledge. But how many people are actually going away and doing that? Like I'll happily admit I'm weird. I'm a nerd, but even then I would be very adamant that I would never take on someone going through the rehab process. The only time I take them on is the return to sport phase, which is not because I've had these surgeries, because post the surgeries I never really returned to sport. I've stayed active and like a hobbyist in certain sports, but I handle the return to sport phase because that's what I know how to do. That's where my
Yeah, that's your
knowledge
job.
base exactly comes into play, not because I've gone through
This
it.
episode, this episode is supposed to be about PTs having sick abs. We're talking about your knees. I don't know how it happened.
That's because
It
we
happens
don't have
every
sick
episode.
abs. All we've got, or all I've got, is sick knees, like
Yeah.
literally sick knees.
Anyway, where do you want to go next?
So the appearance is one bit. The other part
Oh, can
is,
I? Sorry,
yeah,
can
go on.
can I jump in
Yeah.
with appearance? I wanted to tag on a little something to that because I think there are a lot of like really good looking in shape PTs. You go to any gym, just go to a commercial gym here in Cardiff. You're going to see some people in sick shape who work as PTs. I think it would be fair to assume that they look that way because of their vast knowledge and experience. Personally, I think that is absolutely not the case, having spoken to many of these people. I think it is less that they look that way because they are a PT and more that they are a PT because they look that way. So there's an enormous genetic component to how lean you can get and stay and how much muscle you can build and overall what you look like. And I think these people who do end up just getting into shape, no matter what they do, people tell them that. They, oh my God, you're in great shape, you look great, you must be doing something right. Can you give me some advice? And I think that pushes people towards thinking, perhaps this can be a career. Oh, I am good at this. I should do this for a living. I'll go and be a PT. So I think it's not always the case, of course, but I think it's often the other way around from what people expect. So I think, yeah, people are PTs because they look good rather than they look good because they're PTs. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like again, like we're saying, this is not everyone. Do we know any good-looking PTs who are good at what they do?
I don't know any good looking PTs.
No, I don't think. No, I think there's an inverse correlation there. So as your ugliness goes up, you get better at coaching.
I've done that Instagram post. I've done it. Literally. It was a picture, I think, of me gurning. And it was a big newspaper headline. Why you should hire an ugly PT.
Oh, you did have a post. I remember this. Yeah.
I've yeah, I'd forgotten that until now. I'll reshare it.
But the other thing, like, so you've talked about now how it's more that they were good looking or they were in shape, and then someone's told them, okay, have you tried coaching people, like, because of how good you look? And so that's how they get into the PT side of things. But I think the other one is people who like training and who are passionate about training or who played sport before, and then the sport careers come to an end, and they're another demographic that get into the coaching side of things.
Yeah, a natural progression sort of thing.
Yeah. So where do you stand on this idea that we'll start with a coach needing to train?
This might be where we diverge a touch.
Mhm.
I think if you're putting out a message that strength training is beneficial, cardio is beneficial, you should be doing these things, you know, you like talking about training intensity, you need to be training really hard. Like these are all important messages, they're all true, they're great, I suppose, foundations to your coaching and your service. I think if you believe those things, you should absolutely be doing them. You should be putting it to use. And I think for me personally, I leverage that not to motivate. I don't really like the word. I don't think I try and motivate people, but I think it. On the other hand, I think it does motivate my clients to see me posting about my workouts and being extremely consistent with my training and pushing really hard. So I think you should, but I don't think you have to. I think if you're like maybe trying to think of reasons why you wouldn't train as a coach, but you could be extremely busy. You could have absolutely filled up your day with coaching and work, and good for you if you have. But yeah, accept that's going to have an impact on your health.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I agree with you in that aspect of it is if I'm telling people that it's important to stay healthy and fit and strength train and do cardio, it's a little hypocritical of me to stress on the importance of that for quality of life and longevity and these kind of things and just not do it at all.
yeah,
But it's having the clarity that doing it is not going to make me a better coach. Doing it is just me saying I buy into what I'm preaching as well. Like this is how
yeah.
much I believe in it. But it's not going to add to the coaching service or the product that I deliver.
Yeah. Although what I mentioned about my clients seeing me do it, I do think that adds an element to it.
Yeah, but is that more from them saying not so much from you, not so much the quality of your coaching, but them seeing how much you believe in it and how much
Yeah,
training has facilitated you staying so active and them saying I also
that's
want to
it.
do it. So it's not so much the coaching aspect, it's being just increasing that buy-in.
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. You know, maybe it has a small impact on the way I coach certain things because I'm literally experiencing the stuff I'm
Yeah.
prescribing. But yeah, it's more that I think it would have a real impact on their consistency. You know, it won't be an enormous impact, but they'll feed off my drive to train,
Yeah.
and that will improve theirs. And it won't be like that for everyone. It definitely isn't like that for everyone.
Yeah. And I think
But
I think where I do think um a coach should be doing some sort of training is, for example, especially if you're new to the industry, an understanding of prescription. So when you're talking about certain intensities or supersets or sequences of exercises and things like that, if you haven't done much training and haven't experienced it, I feel like sometimes you don't really, you might like prescribe things that just physically aren't doable. Like for example, when we're writing out the program for Un-Trainable, a lot of times we test some of the supersets or the training intensities, see how long a session might take, think about whether it's feasible, and then it actually comes into fruition. So I think there it can be quite a useful thing to have in terms of your prescription and
Yeah.
programming side of things. But again, it's not affecting the coaching side of things, is it?
No. No, you are right.
A conversation I had with a friend of mine who recently moved back to Wales, and he was talking to me about having been assigned some interns at the club he's at, and he wasn't too happy that um, they didn't really train much. It wasn't a thing for them. So we were having this discussion, and then I mean, it was a good discussion. Like I do like we do have some good chats every now and then, but would it be important for you, say if you were hiring a coach, what would you be looking at? Would you be looking at the coaching they do, or would you be looking at whether they train or not?
I would want them to train.
Okay.
Yeah, like but I think that might be more so they fit into like my brand,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's fair.
Because like when I was rebranding several years back and kind of trying to put something together that made sense for me and worked for the people who I wanted to work with, one of my like key points was, and it's again like I keep saying I'm not that cheesy, but this is quite cheesy. Lead from the front, like as head coach of this company, I suppose. Yeah, do all the things that you're asking people to do. Lead from the front. Obviously, the brand, if people don't know, is called the Everyday Athlete, and yeah, that's me, right? I'm the everyday athlete, and I do this stuff every damn day because I want these things, basically. So I would want them to kind of fit into that and do it. So I don't think I would ever hire someone who didn't love training and exercise and doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Is there a second part to that question? I kind of got lost.
No, so the thing was that would you be looking at whether they train or not, which is fair because, again, we're talking about do you buy into what the brand is about? Are you about the brand? Do you do what we say, which is stay active and things like that? But then the question always comes back to we're talking about coaching. Is it going to make you a better coach? So, for example, a lot of times when we talk about coaches needing to, I mean, when people talk about how it's important as a coach that you train, the thing that always comes back, the word that gets used is experience. Someone says, like, things I've experienced in my own personal training with my sessions and things like that. But if I'm hiring a coach and if I'm going to use the word experience, I'm more interested in your coaching experience than your training experience. The product I'm delivering is coaching. I'm not hiring you to work out. So I don't give a shit how much you work out. I would like that you buy into what we're about, which is we're saying health and fitness and staying active, whatever it might be. But I'm more interested in what coaching have you done? What is your coaching experience? Who have you worked with? What demographics? What levels? That is what I want to know if I'm going to hire a coach.
100%. It's definitely priority one, isn't it? And you'd have to like shadow them coaching. I'd be such an awful person to like interview for this. I think so would you. You'd never get anyone because they go, I've had enough of this questioning. I'm out of here. I'm going to go get a job in Spa. It would
um,
be dreadful. I'd be so fussy.
yeah, but like I feel like my approach to it is so strongly influenced by the background I've had getting into the industry because obviously I went down that academic route. The coaches who mentored me, so not just from the S&C side of things, but from the sport coaching side of things, because I worked under some of the coaches at a basketball academy, the interactions with Mike Castle and stuff. Like they're not necessarily coaches who are great at their sport. If we come back to the S&C coaches who mentored me, they spend the first half, like say 9 to 4 lecturing, and then 4 to 6 they would either coach at the after school program at the youth physical development center, or some of the coaches were working with some Welsh teams like Welsh rowing, Welsh kayaking, and things like that. So the amount of time they had to actually train themselves was very limited, but they did try to get in sessions here and there at the university gym. But they're not, no disrespect, like I absolutely love them, but they're not in like impeccable shape or anything like that. But they're some of the most amazing coaches I've met.
Yeah, bunch of nerds mentoring a bunch of nerds is what I would say if I was a meathead.
Yes, the training bit isn't like, it's fine if you want to do it, but if you want to get better at coaching, spend more time coaching. It's like we say about anything else. Like if you want to get better at a specific sport, spend more time playing that sport. If you want to get better at your profession, in this case, coaching, spend more time coaching. Stop worrying about the numbers you put on the board, what you look like, if it's a 6-pack, 2-pack, family pack, whatever. It's irrelevant. It's not going to affect the practice you deliver.
What?
That's a brilliant one. I love that. I want the family pack.
A what?
A family pack.
Jesus Christ. Dreadful.
What were the other bits we had to discuss?
Well, you've made some notes, Knuckles, and you've sent them over to me, and I haven't read them.
I know.
But I'm kind of just glancing at them now, and I don't know what you're talking about because it's just full of swear words. And there's like, you've like missed letters out. It looks like you've just furiously typed this out and sent it over. And yeah, so I don't know what we're talking about, man. What about, obviously, because you coach people who like, genuinely compete in sport? What about for high level sport? Should a coach coaching a team or a weightlifter or something like that have at least competed to a reasonably high level, or are you against that?
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary at all. A lot of times, again, what gets thrown out is that if you've competed at a high level, then you understand what the athlete is experiencing or going through on competition day and things like that. So then my question would be, so you have sports psychologists. So you're saying sports psychologists who are working with top level athletes like your Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, were they world-class tennis players before they went into sports psychology? Or is it that they have an understanding of the underpinning knowledge and how to apply it? The one that ticks me
Yeah.
off is when a lot of professional athletes end their career and then come into the fitness space with this message that I played high level sport and I had a very successful career and I had access to S&C at the highest level. So do what I do, and then you can play at a high level, and you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I haven't got. Who are you talking about? I don't know. You want to drop some names, Knuckles? God, you're
No,
dangerously close.
I know.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that. Obviously, the audience is going to be completely lost at this point. I think maybe one or two you'll get it. Give us a message. But I was going to again mention that we know numerous examples of, and there are numerous hundreds of examples of coaches who've gone into sport after competing as an athlete and been just generally horrible at it.
But then, so this is my experience
Idiots.
working with a few of the high level athletes I've worked with so far, is not one of them asks me why I'm making them do something, because that's not what they're in the gym for. They're not there to ask me, so why are we
No.
doing this? Why are we lifting this weight? Why is it only this many reps? Why is the rest this long? They're there to get better at their sport. I'm the S&C coach. They'll do what I tell them to do, and then they leave. They're not going to spend a minute more than they need to in the gym. So you don't have an understanding of why you were made to do something. So if you're going to then start coaching based on the experience you had when you were receiving S&C support, it's going to come down to the same thing we talked about earlier, where the service you deliver is going to be purely based on your personal experience rather than having
Yeah.
any knowledge about what you're doing.
Yeah, it's the same argument, isn't it, as with PTs with sick abs, because the people who are genuinely like world class elite in whatever sport, they are just freaks. They are athletic beyond just naturally, and obviously they've worked hard because, again, they have that genetic predisposition to be obsessed with whatever it is and just push on when everyone else will stop and go home. But yeah, they are just genetic freaks. They are the best of the best in every sense of the word. So that's the reason why they were successful. It isn't because of their knowledge and things like that. So yeah, it doesn't always transition. Sometimes it will, and I'm sure sometimes their experience will help them transition into a successful coaching career. Because it does. Because there are examples of really good. Like I want to say Warren Gatlin, but it's terrible timing. He played for New Zealand. Obviously, he was second pick hooker, wasn't he? But he was still an All Black, and then transitioned into a really successful coaching career with Wales that ended absolutely horribly. But that's let's leave that there for now.
Something I will add
Yeah,
is we've mentioned, like with all of it, we've talked about the knowledge aspect of it. But even that, the knowledge, just having the knowledge aspect of it doesn't make you a good coach, does it?
no. There are plenty actually. Yeah, no, like some of the coaches I've hired, right, to work with, unbelievable knowledge, like far beyond myself, but unable to kind of just lacking basic skills that I would consider essential for a coach, like just unable to communicate. And obviously, it all gets put together in a package, of course, and it's a business transaction at the end of the day. So there's a big customer service element to coaching. So that's often missing in the more knowledgeable people, because I think they tend to be incredibly book smart, and they just lean into that so far. And of course, it ends up working for them. But for me, then something is missing as a client. So there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that go into what I think me and you, Knuckles, agree with. It makes a good coach.
100%.
Everything I said during this episode, I feel like it will come across like, oh, we're good coaches, we're the best, we're the complete package. That absolutely is not the case. It's just that we don't know what we're missing.
Yeah, but I also think
we,
it's um like for me, it's based around all the interactions I've had with coaches, not just in S&C, because through the academic career, there was obviously the S&C coaches who I interacted with, and I did bits with some football coaches and athletic coaches, basketball coaches, and obviously a lot of interaction with Mike Castle when I was leading the S&C program for the tennis academy. So I was exposed to coaches who are working with different age groups, with demographics, with teams, with individual athletes. So by no means am I saying that I'm a great coach or that I'm one of the best coaches out there, but it's given me a much better picture of what coaching is and like the kind of interpersonal skills that you need to develop to coach, and also this understanding. I think it's I can't remember his name now, but I think he's based in the States and he'd written a book about coaching. And there was one point that he made which was so accurate when he's talking about all the sports science S&C degrees and the PT certifications. They'll teach you about biomechanics, they'll teach you about physiology, program prescription, and all of that. But not one of them will teach you about the science of pedagogy or how people receive and absorb information and how the exchange of information actually occurs. So if you're not being taught that on a certification, the only place you're going to learn that is by being mentored by good coaches, by shadowing good coaches, and just watching other people work. Yeah, so I think we did start the episode off with this idea, with the conversation of like what makes a good coach, and then we kind of led into this. But for the what makes a good coach, I think it would be more useful for us at some point to bring in someone who's involved in the pedagogy side of things, or bring on a guest to talk about it, just so we're not trying to make it sound like everything we do is what makes a good coach. We'd rather bring in someone else
Yeah.
and probably have them tell us how shit we actually are.
Yeah, because we're terrible. Yeah, we would be. I think like as a general package, we're both not bad, but yeah, a specialist in that sort of sect
Yeah.
of coaching would tear us to absolute shreds. Should we sum it up?
Yeah, I think we're done there.
So you don't need abs to be a good PT. In fact, the uglier the better, I think, is what we landed on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything to add?
No, so we're elite.
We're elite. We're elite. We're elite until we get on someone who's actually elite. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, if you're a coach, I hope that helped a little bit. And if you're not, I hope that helped you find the right one.
Yeah, or if you don't agree with what we said, I mean, drop us a comment and we get back to you.
We'll have another episode of the debate.
A healthy debate.
Maybe a fight. Yeah. Good. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on Un-Trainable. Hope you enjoyed that one. We'll catch you on the next.
Good chat.
Good chat.